Welcome to part 42 of Nino Kuni. So yeah, let's go back to Ding Dong Dell and see how people are reacting to what's going on. So there you go. Everybody's celebrating the defeat of Shadar.
So as you recall, audience, in the last part we finally got to what is pretty much the original game's ending. So what's beyond that ending?
Phone.
Well, apparently the defeat of Shadar means fallen.
Maybe that's exactly it, Theo. But people are calling to Dwez going, "Hey, Dwez, Shadar was defeated! Party at my house!"
Cider for everyone.
Your Majesty, the celebrations are about to commence.
Yes, but one cannot cut corners when it comes to grooming.
But you're a cat.
For
You
4
either
hours.
groom or you sleep.
For 4 hours.
Maybe more.
One simply must clean one's ears.
Of course.
Where did one's royal
Ear cleaner.
Ear
What's your
cleaner.
Majesty?
King Hickory, hurry up! Calm down, you little pipsqueak! I'm still black and blue after battling you know who! Don't worry! King Dog's sure to call a ceasefire today. Yeah! Come and get it, you mangy! Doesn't that show I'm royal?
He's still doing his duty.
Those fireworks seem dangerously close, but whatever, mystical spectacle.
That's one thing, like, I don't know if you agree with me on this, Theo, but not since the 90s has a JRPG managed to create a world that is so charming that you never want to leave.
So Oliver tells us.
I don't know, Pedro. Especially 12, Final Fantasy 12, the world of Ivalice kinda gave me that feel.
Well, but that was mostly because it was working based on the other games. I mean, 12 by its own, let's face it, the writing and overall stuff.
I know, but I mean, with the world setting and everything. I mean, and most of its strength came from the side quest and talking to NPCs. So there you go.
It was
I also
fine, but
kind
don't
of-
think it was that good, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with...
I mean, regardless of the quality of the game. I mean,
It's not
what
the only
world
one
of
to
the
have done that.
game Does to me.
I
you know.
agree. I
So,
mean,
what are we doing here now then?
Celebration Dweebs.
we're basically in the post-game of the first game.
Post game of the post game.
No, post-game of the
Basically-
first game.
Basically, we're gonna do a big celebration for Oliver before he checks out to go back to the world.
Basically,
Alright.
Jibs, for anyone who was a fan of the original DS version, this is, I guess, pretty much the equivalent to, say, Rise of the Ashes for anyone who played the original version of Ace Attorney.
Yeah.
Alright. Doesn't look that much of a celebration though.
You missed the cutscene. There were fireworks.
Well, I did watch a bit
In
of
the
it. but
daytime.
I didn't on the call.
There were fireworks and everything.
It's been a
Whatever.
long time, Your Majesty, and now I'm back to level 1.
Yay!
Nah, fortunately, they wouldn't be that cool.
No, level 1 in the world sense.
Yeah, hello. 1 year's congratulations are in order. You defeated You defeated Shadar, did you not?
You know who.
Yeah.
Wrong franchise.
We took inspiration from that, okay? Don't... Whatever.
Don't hate us.
Judging you.
One always knew that you would, of course. One an absolute faith from the first
Sure.
Whatever.
Well, he never showed non-competence, I guess. And he did help us out. Well, admittedly, we had to get him out of his lazy states.
But yeah, like I was saying in the previous part, like one common thing in JRPGs from the 80s and 90s was that it was very common for us to, defeat a villain who was always told from the beginning to us and the characters that he was the big bad guy, only for at the tail end of the game it gets revealed that there was actually a puppet master behind that original villain. I mentioned Final Fantasy IV, like I said, like it was a very
That's
common thing
kind
back
of-
then.
That's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a video game thing in general, though, isn't it?
It
is, and I view the White Witch from this game as an interesting take on that, in the sense that the characters are, of course, not aware of it, but we, the players, are aware of it. So it's kind of an interesting way to take that particular trope.
Well, admittedly, it was kind of required. I mean, the game is called Wrath of the White Witch.
Yeah.
Well, the reason they call... Go ahead, Lips.
I mean, could you imagine if the White Witch wasn't in this game, and they still kept the White Witch title? It'd be called Wrath of the White Witch.
Well, we call the same thing, Dominion of the Dark Djinn.
Yeah, Wrath of the Absent Witch.
What I'm saying is, like, yeah, if the game was called Wrath for the White Witch and she only showed up, like, at this point, yeah, that would be a bit...
It feels like an updated take on that particular trope. And the player is aware of it and he knows what's going on, but the characters don't.
That's what helps this, is the fact that we're aware of it. What I'm saying is, like, if we didn't get those scenes of her, yeah, we kind of feel a bit jipping.
It's kind of like Final Fantasy, one of the biggest offenders, and that's not a detriment to the game itself. Because no, I'm talking about another example. One of the biggest, offenders of that particular trope, and this is not a detriment to the game. I mean, because it was meant back in the late '80s. I mean, it was just a product of its time. Was Final Fantasy III, where right at the very last, 10 minutes of the game, suddenly there's this new villain called Cloud of Darkness, who in the new games is voiced by Laura Bailey. And Cloud of Darkness has nothing to do with anything. She just shows up because I guess we needed a bigger boss fight. I don't know.
She was summoned by the main villains and...
Yeah, but that's the thing, too. It just comes out of nowhere.
You know, having looked at all the different versions of those games, I definitely can think that the different versions are worth a playthrough.
They are, which is why I'm really hoping, again, come on, Square, get into your vaults and bring out some HD stuff of those old games.
Tom asked what Oliver wants, and Oliver just said that he wants to go home. Yeah, surely not.
But
well, technically, you're kind of from here.
Technically, well, yeah, but he has his own life there. Like, he has his friends.
It's kind of like Kushiro. He wasn't technically from Earth, but he grew there and grew accustomed to it.
Also, why do you even have to request to go home? You can easily just magic yourself there.
Oh, it means in terms of living,
Are they holding him hostage or something?
No, they're not. Jesus.
He wants to go home to stay home.
It's okay. Maybe I couldn't save my mom. But
I made some good friends along the way.
But meeting all of you and coming to your world and going on this adventure.
We'll see.
This adventure, it's made me stronger.
Making me even stronger by it.
In the real way.
You can say that again.
It made me stronger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never understood why. Write it as he. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Well, people don't really laugh like he, so it's like I don't understand it either.
I know, right? I mean,
that's the reason. Oliver kind of feels out of focus.
Traveling with all of you has been so much fun, and I've learned that there's nothing we can't do if we work together.
We all did it together. You're right.
Hooray for teamwork.
The superpower of teamwork.
But I started out on this journey because I thought I could save my mom. Yeah, funny thing, in the original DS version, we're kind of left to assume that he stays in this world, actually, with Fester.
Yeah. The original DS version ends very abruptly, in the sense that right after they leave Shadar's castle, immediately we cut to a scene where, they imply that Oliver left, but we never see it, and instead we see Esther singing the clarion as a little music tribute to him, and then the game ends.
Wait, hold on. So, don't we also get the cutscene of him, Esther, and Swain walking from the castle at the end, though?
Yeah, but that's the thing, Jova. Again, after that final animated Ghibli scene, we get one more in-game scene of all the sages of the world gathered, and they kind of imply that Oliver has left, and then Esther sings plays the clarion as a little tribute to Oliver, and then the game ends. We don't actually see all what happened. We don't actually see what we're seeing right now, the celebrations and shit.
Oh, that's
I really like.
So that scene got left out of this version.
Well, it did, because we have something that goes on now, and I actually really like that, because the ending of the original version was a bit abrupt. And yes, I know too that the ending for this particular is
it's quite abrupt itself, but we'll get to that later.
All that when the time comes.
Anyway,
Pedro.
Yes, Twibs.
I've forgotten. Have we established who his dad is?
Oh crud, we never did!
It's not part of the story though, so it's not.
I guess-
For all we know, she just became pregnant like in Star Wars.
Dwibs, here's what we...
Midichlorians.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Dwibs, if you think about it, makes it. Remember what Shadar told us in the previous part. The fathomless darkness in him requires this. Aside from that, he said, and I quote, "The fathomless darkness within me required a suitable counterweight," and he even said, "I was the one who gave you life." So
Shadar is Oliver's father.
So if Alicia did have a virgin birth, technically it would make sense in the context of this universe.
But it wasn't a virgin birth, so I guess we...
he gave birth to himself?
Okay. Basically, it's
we
like...
we already established how this works in the previous part.
Let's just assume that, I guess, some of the darkness from Shadar washed off onto Alicia, seeped into it, the genes connected, boom, baby. Makes sense because the genes carry over rather strong from Shadar to Oliver, by the way they look. So yeah, Shadar is his father. Boom,
I love that
bang, there you go.
Also, you know, Pedro.
Yes.
Now that I re-see this scene, this to me kind of feels like what Final Fantasy Tactics Advance should have been with its message.
Oh god, Tactics
Because
Advance.
honestly, no, I'm telling you, the message at the basis of that game, right, it's promoting having a clear mind and not refuging in escapism. The problem is in execution, because instead of reasoning like Oliver is, doing all the travel and adventure.
Yeah.
What Teo was saying.
But yeah.
But then realizing, oh, so I'm cutting out again.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But my point is that in Tactics Advance,
it's on
that
fine
message
now.
is rushed. My point is that message is rushed, while in this game is instead more explained.
Well,
that's
that's obvious because that's the whole focus. It's all about Oliver overcoming his grief and
no,
moving.
I know,
on,
but
so.
we managed to improve that with just this dialogue in particular, not even the entire game on its own.
So in that case, Tio, what's your stance on how Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2 improved things?
Advance 2 is, it's, to quote the Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, fundamentally harmless. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not spectacular. It's just loser living his life. That's the end.
You know, going back to the virgin birth thing, it's funny you mentioned that. It's not something I noticed because it's always, like, it's pretty much always been a thing. But in video games, particularly RPGs, there are always mothers yet no fathers in sight.
Yeah.
Well,
wake up,
like,
Bruno.
what the hell happened to all the fathers?
Maybe, well, maybe it's a reverse Disney. How in Disney, there's a father but never a mother, like with Ariel and stuff like that. I know that we have,
up on Mars, like in that South Park episode.
well, we do have Snow White, where there's actually an evil stepmother and no father. Cinderella, where there's an evil stepmother and no father.
It's funny you mention Shiro. I remember in our Final Fantasy VII run, I actually forgot about anything about Cloud's father. He mentions him, but it's like a brief line that just passes by if you don't notice it.
Yeah, it's not like it's important, so.
No, I know.
Just
But it's
die.
good.
Like,
But
they just die out.
But it's good that they at least let us know about his father.
Yeah. Time for the celebration.
Yeah.
I mean, Waves, we just defeated the villain, everyone is happy, there's all this celebration, and Oliver is about to go.
And now we're gonna have one of the most, one of the darkest turns in the game, in terms of visuals.
Let me guess, the fireworks start going off, but then the fireworks turn into, like, balls of fire and rain down on everyone.
Oh, you have no idea, Deeves, just watch.
By the way, I love that particular little detail there where you'll be nice tomorrow, won't you? And then, but don't be too nice. Come back and we can do some dangerous for all time's sake. And then Aster literally looks, turns her eyes to him, slightly smiling. That was a really good detail.
I love how Swain literally said, "Come back when our world's in a potch again." Well, asking you shall receive.
Think about it, Pedro. Since it's Studio Ghibli, maybe this particular thing, you know, this spell, kinda is a reference to I forgot the name.
Mononoke's thing?
No, not Mononoke.
What is it?
God damn it, the one with the spore, the earth infected with the spores.
Wasn't that? I actually don't remember which one that is actually.
Anyway, just watch reviews. In the meantime, I'll check.
So yeah, the white witch just blew in some white ash, and look what it does.
Zombie
turned everyone into
apocalypse.
Zombie apocalypse.
It turned.
Oh, and
Jeez,
werewolves.
and it's not even just zombies. Some of them are even fish zombies. And you're probably wondering, look at how clean Tom is. Jesus Christ, that's terrifying.
Yes.
But hey, Marcuson's okay.
Seriously, zombies?
Well, he's a great sage, so obviously he.
Zombies?
It's
Didn't
the
see
magic
that
of the White
coming,
Witch,
did ya?
Dreams.
But couldn't they come up with something a bit less cliche than freaking zombies?
Yeah.
Zombies.
Would you expect
Okay.
zombies to appear in a fantasy world?
Okay,
Not
to be
Yeah.
fair,
very
Dribs, to
often,
be
I
fair,
don't
Dribs, to
think.
be fair, Dwibs. While it's a cliche that has a nice spin put on it.
Yeah,
And to be fair,
Well, you have
and
to
to be
remember
fair,
this game was
Dwibs.
originally released in 2011 in Japan. I mean, it's not like at the time there was Walking Dead and Last of Us for them to rethink things over. At the time that this game was made, zombies were still not exactly a cliche. We still didn't have Walking Dead, we still didn't have Last of Us and stuff like that. Nowadays, yes, it is a cliche, but you have to remember that this game came out in 2011 in Japan. I mean,
And to be fair,
I
honestly,
don't really think that really matters all that much. I mean, at least in my case, because Western release dates and that.
well, actually, Dwibs, to be
well,
fair,
you can't expect Hino to predict the future and know that zombies are going to become a cliche.
yeah,
But still, zombies.
Dwibs.
Ugh.
Okay,
Anyway,
well,
moving on.
yeah.
Anyway,
Let's just say being a cliche doesn't really work with that argument. Go on.
The movie I was thinking about, Pedro, was Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind.
Oh yeah, now I remember. Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a while. Oh.
Also, I would like to point out that Japanese game developers predict the future all the time.
Oh, trust me, sure. Wait till we get to Metal Gear Solid 2. Anyway, yeah. Go ahead,
Oliver's talking to P. Are you here now in this world? Are you here in Ding Dong Dell?
No, I'm in my neighbour's basement. Where do
P,
you think I
wait!
am?
P, wait for me!
Dun,
Hey,
dun,
that
dun,
rhymes.
dun, dun, dun.
P!
Don't scare me like that. Why are you shouting?
Nightmare.
Because I was daydreaming.
What? Where am I?
Wait, if you have one during the day, shouldn't they call it a day?
We're flying. Wait,
A
is
demon.
this?
Yeah, day bear.
We finally got an airship.
It is, boy. You're back aboard the most formidable ship ever to sail the skies.
It actually looks a lot like
one
like a
from-
Gravity Rush airship. The design is very similar to the ones in Gravity Rush.
I was also gonna say Skies of Arcadia.
That too, yeah. That was probably their exploration. Yeah.
Oliver, you're okay and awake.
Well, again, if there's one
Alright.
thing that Studio Ghibli loves is airship porn. pretty
Prince
much.
Marcuson, what are you doing here?
Airship.
Well, Ghibli in general, yes. As for Miyazaki, airplane porn.
It is quite a
True,
tale.
true.
Let me tell you all that has been happening.
Basically, the Wind Rising is literally Hayao Miyazaki's big love letter to airplanes. Like, the main character is fucking obsessed with planes.
So this all hasn't been a
And
dream.
then he retired, but then he came back for like the 86th time.
Sadly not. The mana, it changed them. It changed everything.
You know, this captain's area it reminds me a bit of Pirates of the Caribbean's one.
But of course,
Well,
it is
is
a
it-
pirate
I mean, I
ship.
know they're pirate ships, but it reminds me of that one in particular.
Which
Yeah, no, I can see what it means. Like,
ship?
it's very typical in pirate ships to have this typical type of design. It's common.
What ship were you
Also-
talking about?
Whatever. Moving on.
Also,
Black
trivia
Pearl.
still about this game. Marcuson mentioned about the spell mana, which he now is about to say that infected pretty much the entire world. Charming, at least the major cities, which now means everyone is a fucking zombie down there and they're taking refuge up there in the sky. But the spell he said is called Manna, M-A-N-N-A. Now, in the Ancient Testament, manna is referred from the Hebrew manhu, literally meaning "what's that?" It's apparently a substance similar to grain, but according to the Bible, God sent it to the caravan fleeing from Egypt since they were starving to death, and they used that to create the bread from it. But this one instead is just ashes that corrupts into zombies. But I could see similarities due to the appearance.
And the translation.
This has been yet another episode of Teo's Useless Knowledge.
Yay!
Does anybody remember back in the day when when Tom was still at Screw Attack? They had this thing where sometimes, and now it's time for Ansem Tom's Useless Knowledge, and then it'll spot some kind of trivia akin to the one that Teo just did. Am I the only one who remembers that?
I never really watched
was
Screw
never a
Attack
big fan
much
of
because
Screw Attack,
I
sorry.
don't really take them as legit. They're they're actually kind of loathsome.
Yeah, I agree with that, but remember this was back in 2008 when it wasn't as obvious.
Never even knew who they were
I
back
was
then.
barely on the internet.
How could this
Anyway,
happen
yeah,
after
very good.
all we and Mom and Lucian did to protect this world? Well, Lucian kind of screwed with the world a bit, but details.
Oh yeah, it's almost like this wasn't supposed to happen originally. Oh wait.
Yeah.
What the flip is doing this, man? And why?
I feel like there's an antagonist that the player may know about, but we don't know.
They're stupidly powerful. That Ash wasn't the work of some 2-bit villain.
2 OP must nerf.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please, Nintendo.
Ash! Of course! It's the Great
No,
Witch
please,
Bazella!
The world will turn
to Ash. Yes, I know.
Of course,
No, wait,
because...
what's this?
Pokemon the second.
Oh, that movie.
Pokemon
And
2000.
the Earth will turn to ash. It could be talking about anything. It could be another person, but it's specifically that guy because main character.
Or it could be the fact that the Earth will turn to ash because apocalypse, but how convenient it turns out to be.
Replace that with anything and it will still be identical. The world will turn to
Seriously,
the world will turn to tea.
whoever wrote that prophecy was a fucking moron. All right, and the world will turn to ash. There you go. This cannot possibly get misinterpreted.
Well, I guess whoever wrote that probably foresaw the incredibly specific bout of future events that would somehow lead to that one kid just happening across the Orange Island. So
what was that,
maybe
Siri?
that?
I said prophecies are supposed to be vague.
Yeah.
So-
Honestly, Shirai, I'm still waiting for an eventual prophecy that is literally just spells. By the way, there's this thing that's coming, and you have to do X, 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 X to stop it. Now, now do it now.
Well, to be fair, Pedro, that would kind of defeat the purpose of a vague prophecy, now wouldn't it?
Screw vagueness. Like, we gotta keep the world protected.
Well, I guess to be fair, maybe the ancients just spoke in vagueness,
Who the hell
but...
writes these prophecies? Dr. Seuss?
Okay, now
No, the Azran.
now to be fair, Pedro, most times these prophecies were written in older, different times, so maybe they spoke in more vague text, and thus we just adapted to a point where we like things more specific. Maybe
Well, I
they
guess I'll
intend...
Trolls, and they want everything to go to shit.
I guess I'll go back to my default theory that people writing these prophecies are like, hey dude, what if we wrote here, the earth will turn to ash, then they'll not know whatever, and then they'll be, for all we know, they're throwing ash at the fret, hoping it stops. It's so, it's a movie that's so funny. You just doomed the world.
Or maybe we unintentionally saved it. Who knows? Who cares? We'll be dead by then.
But yeah, since it's also extra content and everything, apparently Marcusson is joining us now.
Yep.
Yes, Marcusson is now the 4th party member.
Can you give I've forgotten. Can you give the playable characters nicknames?
No.
Oh,
That's
shit.
what's
I called this guy Ass.
Well, we haven't. Aside from, the only JRPG that has that is primarily fully voiced that I remember you allowing to name your character was Final Fantasy X, where you could only name Tidus. And even then, it was inconsequential. They got around that by having nobody ever mention his name.
The only consequence that was that for a fuck ton of years, no one knew how to pronounce Tidus' name.
Well, it's like that in the Persona games recently too.
True.
Well, yeah, but that's because Persona has always done that thing with the protagonist. It's kind of part of the. It's kind of one of the big characteristics of the series in general, for the sake of keeping that old school thing. But for the most part, JRPGs with voice acting have abandoned that naming the character thing. Yeah,
not all of them per se.
Not something I'd lose my sleep over. Honestly, I can live without that.
What about the Fire Emblem series? That has voice acting.
Well, okay. Well, but Fire Emblem is it does have voice acting, but again, I'll talk about that later.
Semantics. Let's
Also,
just talk about that.
anyway, basically the plan is, since Oliver saw his vision, P says to go back to Motorville and find her. So that's what we're gonna do.
Oh yeah, let's see if we can ask P about this. See if she knows anything about this.
Let's just hope the people at Motorville aren't zombies as well, because they're linked.
That's actually a good point.
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
Well, come on.
Well, we need. Ain't it though? He pinched his map, didn't he? When did the kiss it make up?
Oh yeah, that's right. Kublai stole Marcuson's map. Our world is in danger. We must put aside our petty squabbles. Never mind the fact we haven't even seen any petty squabbles.
Thank you. Thank you. Can someone give this piece of advice to a lot of
Every
lords
politician ever.
Not just that, Shiroi. I was gonna avoid that obviously by mentioning a lot of JRPG lords / kings / whatever who sadly don't have
Common sense.
Well,
Yeah.
to be
Honestly, to be fair, that's generally good life advice.
yeah. Not to mention the fact that it's usually only at the 11th hour when they put aside their differences. Most times, often, it's not to that point.
Mm-hmm.
I had a fine teacher.
Aww.
Nice.
Now, to Motorville, I entrust myself to your command, Oliver.
Ta-da!
Captain Oliver to the rescue.
Marcus and Mr. Miller have joined your party.
Marcuson's actually a pretty good party member, admittedly, for someone who comes about
Yeah,
the
he's actually a very. If you bother to level him up, he becomes the second most powerful party member after Oliver.
And Coolon's there as well.
All right, see you for the next part, everybody, where we go meet P and see if we can figure this shit out.
See ya.
See ya.